Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. It's the 156th day of the year, the 23rd Tuesday of the year, and the first of 4 this month. Today is National Cheese Day, and everybody loves them some cheese, right? Celebrating the food product itself, as well as the skill and traditions of cheese makers. Before I get into the political firestorm taking place in this country, today is the 35th anniversary of China's crackdown on the pro-democracy protests in Tiananmen Square, Beijing. If you're not old enough to remember it 35 years ago, you certainly have seen the iconic photo or video of a protester standing face-to-face with a tank. That did not run him over, by the way. According to China, more than 200 people were killed, though, that day, including a few dozen student protesters. Hong Kong used to hold a vigil every year marking the event until a few years ago when China passed a new national security law.
No activities that contravene the law should take place. The government, of course, will take action in accordance with the law.
That's Hong Kong's leader John Lee warning residents and students today. Of course, the government will take action, as he said. Certainly something for Americans to think about. And topping the news, opening statements now underway in the Hunter Biden felony gun trial after a jury of 12, 6 men, 6 women, predominantly black, seated on day 1 of the trial in Delaware Monday. Dr. Anthony Fauci, once America's doctor, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, was back in front of Congress testifying on the origins of COVID-19 yesterday.
I have always kept an open mind to the different possibilities.
More on the Fauci fireworks in a bit, and a reaction to the guilty verdict in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial, and the events following the verdict continued as well. Starting with, as I anticipated yesterday, Greg Kelly.
All right, a little bit more on this shockingly huge number. Maybe not so much of a shock. People are outraged, irate like never before, triggered by that phony verdict and that phony case. The whole damn thing stupid and a waste of time. But silver lining, Hillary Clinton couldn't dream of anything like this. Back in 2016, they were raving about her fundraising, raving. And as the campaign wound down, the last days of the campaign, this was from CNN, Hillary Clinton will headline her 371st and final fundraiser of the campaign Tuesday in Miami, according to a Clinton aide. Again, this is 2016. And how much money after 371 visits? $330 million. All right. Now, I don't think Donald Trump visited anything, quite frankly, other than his golf course since Thursday. And look at that haul, $200 million. This is, they're scared. They're nervous, and they're full of regret right now. And they should be. They did a horrible, horrible thing. And yeah, this did come from the Biden White House. Do not believe the fake news. They're actually, I think, intentionally ignoring the evidence, or, I don't know, maybe they're just dumb.
To be clear, this is a local case with zero evidence that Biden orchestrated these prosecutions.
There's no evidence whatsoever that the district attorney in Manhattan has any relationship with the Biden administration.
This is brought by a local prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, who doesn't respond to the federal government. He doesn't answer to President Biden. He has nothing to do with the Biden administration other than the fact that he is a Democrat.
Wasn't there a time when these guys kind of used their common sense and their savvy? They just didn't accept something, an official statement that somebody told them, right? When did they lose all their kind of street smarts? That's it. Media people don't have street smarts. Wow. Because the White House has been coordinating all this stuff. And we know that. We know that Fani Willis went to the White House numerous times. She's running that fake case in Atlanta. How many times did she go there? 3 visits. Letitia James, she went to the White House multiple times. 4 visits, all right? They weren't going to talk about, well, what else would they be talking about? Nathan Wade. Yeah, Fani's lover. 3 visits to the White House. Now, Alvin Bragg. Now, there is no record of Alvin Bragg visiting the White House, but he didn't have to, because the White House visited Alvin Bragg. They sent one of their top people to go work for him, a guy named Matthew Colangelo. And Matthew Colangelo was the Associate Attorney General. It sounds like there are a lot of Associate Attorney Generals. They're not. He's the third highest ranking guy in the Department of Justice. There he is, all the way at the top.
Greg went on to play several clips of Colangelo talking about other events related to the White House, where he said, on behalf of the White House, on behalf of the president, and on behalf of Merrick Garland, yada, yada, yada. And he is the guy that stood alongside District Attorney Alvin Bragg when Bragg gave that victory type of speech right after Trump's guilty verdict. More from Rob Schmitt.
Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. The political weasels who devised the Trump prosecution as a surefire way to keep him out of office are surely full of regret tonight. They assumed that felony convictions against Trump would make him unelectable. We know how it worked. But new polling now shows that literally nothing has changed. We have some numbers, and keep in mind, Republicans almost always lose in national polling, and even when they win elections, they're losing in national polling. Forbes summing up the post-conviction polling as a split between Biden and Trump, winning in 4 major national polls. Biden leading in Reuters by 2, a Morning Consult survey by 1, while the race is tied in a new TIP survey. This is all after the conviction, and Trump still leads by 2, according to Harris X, often teams up with Harvard, in another poll even after being convicted of, 34 felonies? Take a moment to reflect on what a moment we're in. Our justice system, one of the most critical institutions that a free society can have, has been mangled by establishment Washington for political reasons. It is an atrocity. It's the sort of move that should be seen as a last resort to save a country, a desperate move to keep the establishment in power. And not only did it still fail after they pull out this never-before-used weapon, it's actually having the opposite effect. This is a fantastic moment. And the weight of this political atrocity is only beginning to set into the American people. They still haven't really digested exactly what's happened here. The media has sold off tremendous credibility to sell what Alvin Bragg and the left just did to Trump as somehow credible. From Politico, this reluctant prosecutor just made Donald Trump a felon. How could anybody call Alvin Bragg reluctant? His only agenda was jailing Donald Trump. He ran on jailing Donald Trump. He is otherwise a completely valueless human being. This is how they're trying to sell it to the American people. The press and the elites are scrambling to keep the wool over your eyes after one of the most egregious and tyrannical power plays in American history, probably the most in American history. But 4 days after his conviction, Reince Priebus admitting this is the strongest Donald Trump has ever been politically.
I spoke to President Trump yesterday, and I asked him, is there anything that you're seeing right now, other than the headache of this conviction, that isn't going well in this campaign? And the answer is that this campaign, and where the Republicans are situated today, with Donald Trump as their candidate, is better today than it's ever been at any time that he's ever run for president.
Oh, little George didn't like that one over there on ABC. The weaponized legal system has actually weaponized Trump. The irony. He'll only get stronger now. You can see what's happening. Even with the complicit media, they couldn't sell this nonsense to the American public. Even Trump's biggest haters in the GOP are calling this out, and that's when you know they really screwed up, including Maine Senator Susan Collins saying the DA who campaigned on a promise to prosecute Trump brought these charges precisely because of who the defendant was, rather than because of any specified criminal conduct. The political underpinnings of this case further blur the lines between the judicial system and the electoral system, and this verdict likely will be the subject of a protracted appeals process. She's laying out the absolute atrocity that has been committed for political reasons in this country. What they have just done, they have assailed this system in this country. They have assailed it for political reasons. They talk about threat to democracy all the time. They are the threat.
That is Rob Schmitt, host of Rob Schmitt Tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern on Newsmax. And the conversation turns to the former president's now pending sentencing hearing. Carl Higbie, host of Frontline, spoke with the great Michael Savage. I'm picking this up about halfway through their conversation of the trial.
Because they're not going to follow the law. They haven't so far. Why should they begin on the sentencing?
Yep.
That's number one. Number two, people should remember, they incarcerated Martha Stewart on a very minor charge. She was put in jail.
Right.
Was she a threat to society? Was she likely to flee? Did she pose a threat to anybody? No. They put her in jail to send a message, God knows to whom. New York is a very corrupt place, and the judicial system is more corrupt than the place itself, run by the worst people in America. Anyone who winds up running that system may as well have been in Manchurian China at the time, or Manchu China, excuse me, because I do believe they could do it. And I think they're evaluating right now what the benefits versus the risks are to incarcerating Trump. They don't care what the public thinks of them. No. All they're going to analyze is, do they benefit from it for the collapsing candidate that they have, or do they not benefit from it? That's all they will think about. But what worries me the most is that if they do get him in jail without the Secret Service agents, I'm sorry, I do play out the worst possible scenario as a possibility running through the minds of some of these demons in the Democrat Party, Carl. It's not beyond them.
Wow. I mean, it's just
one man's opinion.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that we're even having this conversation, but we have to have it. I mean, it's insane. Now, Trump has obviously called for the Supreme Court to intervene in this case before he's sentenced. He's going to be sentenced like 4 days before the Republican National Convention. I believe that I never would have thought I'd say this, but I think they're probably going to try to throw him in jail for at least long enough to keep him off the campaign trail.
That makes sense, too. That's if he survives jail. That's number two. Now, people don't understand this. They want a mugshot of him in an orange jumpsuit. Remember they were posting that years ago?
Yeah.
You know what they do when they put you in jail? No hair products, no makeup. They want him to be looking like a dehumanized Soviet prisoner in the Gulag, so they can then run that against the truly debilitated candidate on the other side of the aisle.
Michael Savage, host of the Savage Nation podcast on Frontline with Carl Higbie. I heard Carl, or maybe Rob Schmitt, mention this, and I'm not sure why this hasn't been brought up more in the past couple of months, certainly the past couple of weeks. But Bill Clinton, who had sexual relations with an intern in the Oval Office.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false.
What was false was everything he just said, and then he went on to pay Paula Jones $850,000 to drop her sexual harassment lawsuit against him. And he is adored by the left, right? Let's move on to the Hunter Biden felony gun trial in Delaware with Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry, a member of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, as well as a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Congressman Perry, good to have you in. It's been a moment.
Yes, it has been a moment of first with what happened with the former president of the United States last week, and now this. I do see the stark difference of the jury shopping and the judge shopping, the court shopping that the Democrats did regarding President Trump in New York. And then yet Hunter Biden gets to go to court in his home state where probably half these people were either employed by the Bidens or know them in some way. There's probably about 2 degrees of separation between any one of these people. I can't imagine that would be the same thing if, say, the trial were held in Dothan, Alabama, for instance, or somewhere in the middle of Oklahoma or Luckenbach, Texas. But, this is the now we're very well familiar with the 2-tiered system of justice. If you're one of the coastal elites and those well connected to the left, you get a pass. And if you're not, well, they throw the book at you and even make things up to make sure that you're persecuted while being prosecuted.
Yeah, for a long time, as we know, the Bidens were saying, trying to do the sob story if he's an addict. Listen, if his name wasn't Biden, he probably would have been in jail a long time ago. As you know, it took this judge who's overseeing this case to sort of have the plea deal fall apart. It's pretty cut and dry. There's 3 charges there, Congressman. There's a lot of information on the laptop from hell. And there's one text here, Hallie Biden, Beau Biden's widow, when she tossed the gun away. You're not supposed to have a gun if you're an addict. Apparently, this is one of the texts they'll use in court. Saying this is Hunter telling her, are you insane? Tell me now, this is no game. Are you being totally irresponsible and unhinged? So there you have it. They'll obviously describe he was probably high on drugs, and it's going to be an ugly few days for the Bidens there. But ultimately, this is accountability, and no one, as they say, is above the law.
Well, that's exactly right. That's the term they always use. And of course, we agree with that as well. I think it is very difficult. It will be very difficult for Hunter Biden to refute any of these allegations, charges, because they appear to be fact, right? You juxtapose that to President Trump, where they've went 8-10 weeks of a trial and still didn't even know what the felony, the federal charge was. They never really established that. So that is the difference here. Now, the other thing I think is going to be very interesting is the very people that are prosecuting are the ones that were working very diligently to sweep this under the rug for Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, and the entire Biden enterprise, as well as the whole leftist enterprise of the Democrat Party. They're the ones that are conducting the prosecution. And of course, they know everybody's watching, but you can imagine that President Biden doesn't want to see his son go to jail, and he's appointed some of these people. And if he hasn't appointed them, he's friendly with every single one of them, including the judge.
Well, he went to go visit Hallie Biden 8 days before the trial started. I mean, many would say that was witness tampering, but no, it's been crickets on that.
That's Newsmax host Bianca De La Garza with Pennsylvania Representative Scott Perry. I mentioned Hallie Biden last week. She is the widow of the president's other son, Beau Biden, who later dated Hunter. As I said last week, yes, he was sleeping with his deceased military hero brother's wife. And she is testifying in the trial. Joe Biden, the president of the United States, went to visit her last week at her home before the trial. And as Bianca said, crickets. The president of the United States showed up at her home. Oh, he just went to check in on his daughter-in-law, see how she was doing. Okay. And this is attorney Joe DiGenova, former U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C., on American Agenda with Katrina Zish.
First of all, let's remember how this case came about. What's happening today is the direct result of Congress holding hearings and taking the testimony from 2 IRS whistleblowers who said that the case was being thrown by David Weiss, who is the special counsel who is now bringing these charges. These charges were never going to be brought this way with the sweetheart deal that they had worked out. What's going to happen is here you're going to have an excellent jury selection process by a fair judge, a real judge, not a Judge Merchan up in New York. And the jury will work its will. Just remember, this is a hometown jury. By the way, I was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware. I know this courthouse. This is on Market Street. Whatever the jury's going to do, it's going to be influenced by the Biden family and by the conduct of the president and the president's wife over the last 72 hours.
The president's wife, the First Lady, Jill Biden, was in the courtroom yesterday. This evening, President Biden and the First Lady host the congressional picnic on the South Lawn of the White House before leaving for France. It'll be interesting to see how many so-called MAGA members of Congress attend the picnic. And, you know, the big networks are going to have stories about what flavor ice cream Joe was having while his son is on trial. There were fireworks over on Capitol Hill yesterday when Dr. Anthony Fauci testified before a House committee on the origins of COVID-19 and the pandemic.
Everything from harassments by emails, texts, letters of myself, my wife, my 3 daughters.
Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, one of those that brought the fireworks and disrupted the apple cart.
I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will suspend.
Mr. Chairman,
Point of order.
Just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
You know, regardless of how you may feel about him, Dr. Fauci is 83 years old. If you watched any of that hearing yesterday, I mean, look at how sharp he is in contrast to the president, who's 81. And today, the House Judiciary Committee is questioning Attorney General Merrick Garland about audio tapes of President Biden related to his documents case. Garland is also expected to refute claims that the administration was anyway involved in Alvin Bragg's case against President Trump, which Greg Kelly laid out for you earlier. And let's not forget the fraud and bribery trial of Democratic Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, who yesterday filed paperwork to run for senator again as an independent, which is kind of a big deal for the Democrats since they have a very narrow control in the Senate, and New Jersey is normally safely in the Democrats' hands. It's also unclear how much support he'll get amid his ongoing bribery investigation, which should be getting a lot more attention. That's why I'm bringing it up. Don't forget, he's the guy that had gold bars in his house, which a lot of people have gold in their house, but it was given to him as a gift, and he's a senator, and his wife was gifted a Mercedes, among other things. On Wall Street, we had some pretty solid red numbers to start off the Tuesday trading day. Keep an eye on that, and keep up with all of the news all day long on Newsmax, Newsmax Plus, and Newsmax.com. Make sure you're streaming on the new Newsmax Plus. If you're not, go to NewsmaxPlus.com. Get signed up. You can even get a free trial. It includes all of your favorite shows and hosts with great expert analysis. Rob Schmitt Tonight, Greg Kelly Reports, The Record with Greta Van Susteren, Wake Up America, analysis from people like Governor Mike Huckabee, Professor Alan Dershowitz, Judge Napolitano, former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, and many others with special programming, documentaries, and more. NewsmaxPlus.com. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you for listening to the Newsmax Daily. Continue to share it with your friends and family. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. You know what I always say, Taco Tuesday. And keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.